The silent wounds. How self-harm affects a man's mental health. Why millions of men suffer in silence. Imagine carrying emotional pain that feels impossible to explain. You wake up exhausted. You go to work. You smile at people. You laugh at jokes. Everyone assumes you're fine. But behind closed doors, the pressure keeps building until emotional pain feels physically unbearable. For some men, that pressure leads to self-harm. It is not attention-seeking. It is not a sign of weakness. It is often the desperate attempt of someone trying to survive emotional suffering they no longer know how to manage. Today we're looking at one of the least discussed issues in men's mental health, self-harm. We'll explore why men do it, how it affects the brain, the warning signs to recognize, who is most at risk, and why recovery is possible. Let's get into it. What is self-harm? Self-harm refers to intentionally hurting yourself as a way of coping with emotional distress. It may include cutting, burning, punching walls until hands are injured, hitting yourself, scratching until skin breaks, pulling out hair, preventing wounds from healing, taking overdoses, deliberately putting yourself into dangerous situations. Many people assume self-harm always involves cutting. In reality, many men use methods that leave little or no visible evidence. Some repeatedly hit walls. Others deliberately neglect injuries. Some place themselves into dangerous situations hoping they simply won't care what happens. The hidden numbers. One of the biggest misconceptions is that self-harm is almost exclusively a teenage girl's problem. It isn't. Millions of men have self-harmed, but many never tell anyone. Recent NHS England survey data found that around 5% of adult men in England report having self-harmed without suicidal intent at some point in their lives. That represents millions of men, and researchers believe the true number is likely higher because many people never disclose their experiences. Male self-harm by age. Although self-harm can occur at any age, the risk changes throughout life. Ages 11 to 16. This is often where emotional distress first begins to appear. Current UK data suggests around 3.6% of boys aged 11 to 16 report having self-harmed or attempted suicide at some point. While this is lower than the rate reported by girls, it still represents thousands of boys experiencing serious psychological distress. Many boys in this age group struggle with bullying, family conflict, identity issues, academic pressure, social media, early depression and anxiety. Ages 17 to 19. Late adolescence sees a sharp increase. Nearly 1 in 10 young men, 9.7%, aged 17 to 19, report having self-harmed or attempted suicide. This is often the period where young men begin facing leaving school, college or university stress, employment uncertainty, relationship breakdowns, isolation, pressure to become independent. Ages 16-24. Among adults, this is the highest risk age group. The latest NHS Adult Psychiatric Morbidity Survey found that around 15.4% of men aged 16 to 24 reported having self-harmed at some point in their lives. Compared with 8.5% of adult men overall, self-harm in this age group has risen substantially over the past 2 decades. These years often combine enormous life transitions with mental health conditions that commonly emerge for the first time. Ages 25-34. For many men, emotional pressures don't disappear after youth. Work demands, financial pressures, marriage, parenthood, relationship breakdown, debt. The same NHS survey found that many men in their 20s and early 30s continue to report high levels of self-harm history and suicidal thoughts, showing that emotional struggles often continue into adulthood rather than ending after adolescence. Ages 35-54. Although prevalence is lower than among younger adults, self-harm remains a significant issue. Many men in midlife face divorce, redundancy, financial pressure, carrying responsibilities, loneliness, chronic stress. The NHS reports that lifetime self-harm has increased across every adult age group over the past 2 decades, including men in middle age. Men over 55. Self-harm becomes less common with age, but it does not disappear. Older men may struggle with retirement, bereavement, chronic illness, isolation, loss of independence. Sadly, older men also have some of the highest suicide rates, making emotional distress in later life especially important to recognize and address, even if self-harm is reported less frequently. Why do men self-harm? Most men don't self-harm because they want physical pain. They self-harm because emotional pain has become unbearable. Many describe it as, I needed the emotional pain to become something I could control. For a short period, self-harm may Reduce overwhelming anxiety. Release emotional pressure. Replace numbness with sensation. Distract from traumatic memories. Create a feeling of control. Temporarily interrupt intrusive thoughts. Unfortunately, the relief rarely lasts. Soon afterwards comes shame, then isolation. Then the emotional pressure begins building again. Society's expectations of men. From childhood, many boys hear messages such as, "Man up, boys don't cry, be strong, deal with it." Over time, these messages become internal beliefs. Instead of saying, "I'm struggling," many men tell themselves, "I should be able to handle this." Years of emotional suppression can eventually lead to depression, anxiety, anger, and self-harm. Mental health conditions linked with self-harm. Self-harm is commonly associated with depression. Hopelessness can convince someone they deserve pain. Anxiety disorders. Physical pain may briefly interrupt relentless racing thoughts. PTSD. Trauma survivors may self-harm in an attempt to regain emotional control. Borderline personality disorder. Men with BPD often experience emotional instability, intense anger, fear of abandonment, impulsivity, alcohol and drug misuse. Alcohol lowers inhibitions and increases impulsive behavior. Many episodes occur while intoxicated. The psychological cycle. Most self-harm follows a repeating cycle. Stress builds. Emotions become overwhelming. Self-harm occurs. Temporary relief appears. Shame follows. Isolation increases. Emotional pressure returns. Each repetition reinforces the behavior as a coping mechanism. Warning signs to look out for. Physical signs. Unexplained cuts, burns, frequent bruises, wearing long sleeves during hot weather, hidden bandages, blood stains on clothing, keeping sharp objects nearby. Emotional signs. Persistent sadness, irritability, emotional numbness, feelings of worthlessness, extreme guilt, hopelessness. Behavioral signs. Isolation, loss of hobbies, sleeping far more or less, increased alcohol use, drug misuse, secretive behavior, avoiding intimacy, frequent unexplained injuries. Things men often say. Listen carefully if someone repeatedly says, "I'm a burden, I can't cope, I'm broken, everyone would be better off without me, I don't see the point anymore." These statements should never be dismissed as just venting. How self-harm changes mental health. Over time, self-harm often leads to worsening depression, increased anxiety, greater social isolation, lower self-esteem, emotional dependence on self-harm as a coping strategy, increased risk of future suicidal behavior. Research consistently shows that people who present to hospital after self-harm have a much higher risk of suicide in the following year, which is why every episode should be taken seriously. Recovery is possible. Recovery starts with replacing self-harm with healthier ways of coping. That may involve speaking to a trusted friend, visiting your GP, seeing a therapist, learning emotional regulation skills, treating depression or anxiety, reducing alcohol misuse, building supportive relationships, developing healthier routines around sleep, exercise, and stress. Recovery isn't about being perfect. It's about learning that emotional pain doesn't have to become physical pain. Final thoughts. Behind every act of self-harm is a story that most people never hear. A story of silence, of pressure, of shame, of feeling trapped. Many men spend years believing they have to carry those struggles alone. The truth is that they don't. Reaching out for help is not weakness, it is one of the strongest decisions a man can make. If you or someone you know is struggling with self-harm or thoughts of suicide, speak to a trusted person, your GP, or a qualified mental health professional. If there is an immediate risk that someone may act on suicidal thoughts, contact your local emergency services or go to the nearest emergency department without delay. If this topic resonates with you or someone you know, remember that help is available. Speaking up can feel daunting, but it can also be the beginning of recovery, and no one has to face it alone. Drop us a comment with your thoughts and views, and let's get the conversation going.